levitation, reading minds, remembering past lives, walking on water. When many people first encounter Buddhism, they run into these stories of supernatural powers, and immediately a line is drawn in the sand. It's a common misconception that you have only two choices. Choice 1. You must become a true believer. You must accept all these stories as literal, historical fact, or you're not a real Buddhist. Choice 2. You must become a secular Buddhist. You cherry-pick the philosophy, take the nice parts about mindfulness, and throw all the mystical baggage away. But what if both of these positions miss the point? What if the Buddha himself warned against being distracted by these things? And what if the real miracle of the path is something far more profound and far more useful? Welcome to the Mindful Compass. Today, we're exploring a question that can be a real roadblock for many. Do I have to believe in the Buddha's supernatural powers to be a Buddhist? We'll look at what the texts, like the Pali Canon, actually say about these powers, known as Iddhi. And more importantly, we'll examine the Buddha's own attitude toward them. Why does this matter? Because getting stuck on this question can stop a journey before it even begins. It can make the path feel like an all-or-nothing system of belief. But the Dhamma, at its heart, is not a system of belief. It is a path of practice and a journey of personal discovery. First, to be clear, the suttas do mention these powers. They are described as potential byproducts of mastering very deep states of meditation, or samadhi. But the crucial part of the story is the Buddha's response. In the Kevada Sutta, the Buddha is asked to perform a miracle to win converts. He flatly refuses. He says that a skeptic would just dismiss it as a magic trick or a cheap spell. He then says the only miracle he endorses is the miracle of instruction. What is that? It's the profound, observable transformation of a human mind. The training of a mind from a state of greed, hatred, and delusion to a state of generosity, compassion, and wisdom. To make this intuitive, let's use a modern analogy. Think of a master chef. This chef has trained for 30 years. Their goal is to create truly exquisite, nourishing, life-changing food. That is their entire purpose. Now, along the way, this chef has developed some supernatural side skills. Their senses are uncanny. They can smell a sauce and know exactly which spice is missing. They can julienne a carrot with a speed and precision that looks like a magic trick. These are their Iddhi, their powers. But what is the point of the chef? Is it to show off their knife skills? If they just stood in the street juggling knives, they would be a performer, not a chef. The point is the food. The point is the nourishment. The Buddha is like that master chef. The food is liberation from suffering. The supernatural powers are, at best, the side skills developed along the way. To fixate on them, to demand them, is like asking the chef to stop cooking and just juggle knives. It completely misses the meal. The Buddha's teaching, the Dhamma, is the meal. The miracle of instruction is the nourishment. So what are the negative side effects of getting stuck on this? They are twofold, and they are traps. Trap 1, spiritual materialism. This is the trap of wanting the miracles. It's seeking spiritual entertainment, chasing powers, psychic signs, or flashy experiences. This is just a subtle form of grasping, of tanha. It's a detour that leads away from the real work. It's collecting shiny objects instead of cleaning the house of the mind. Trap 2, intellectual aversion. This is the trap of hostile disbelief. It's saying, this talk of miracles is primitive superstition, so I'm throwing the entire path in the bin. This is like refusing the master chef's life-changing meal because you thought their knife skills were unrealistic or unscientific. You missed the nourishment because the presentation seemed strange. The path offers a way through the middle. It is relentlessly pragmatic. It invites you to test its core claim, not its cultural history. The core claim is this: craving and aversion cause suffering. It is possible to train the mind to release this craving and aversion, leading to the end of suffering. That is the hypothesis. Your life is the laboratory. This brings us to our practice. Instead of looking for external miracles, we are invited to spot the internal one. This week's practice is called Noticing the Observable Shift. Your only task is to try and notice one small moment of transformation as it happens. For example, you feel a sudden surge of irritation at someone. You're about to make a sharp comment, but you pause. You feel the heat. You breathe, and you let it pass without reacting. That is the miracle. You're scrolling online and feel the pull of envy or comparison. You notice the feeling of not enoughness, but you recognize it as just a thought. You gently put the phone down and look at the sky. That is the miracle. You're about to speak an unkind word or join in gossip, and you simply don't. You choose silence or a kind word instead. That is the miracle. In these moments, you are witnessing the miracle of instruction in real time. You are observing the mind changing its own habits. This is the supernatural work. It is the most profound magic in the world. So, do you have to believe in levitation or mind reading to walk this path? The path does not demand this. It is not a ticket of entry. It simply invites you to become the master chef of your own mind. It asks you to focus on the food, the tangible, nourishing, liberating work of ending your own suffering and not causing it for others. The rest is just a distraction from the meal. What small miracles of the mind did you observe this week? What observable shifts did you notice? Please share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's journeys. Thank you for sharing this time, for walking this path with us today. May you be well, and may you find wonder not in the spectacle, but in the profound, quiet transformation of your own heart.